You've got lots of real estate questions. Should I downsize? What improvements do I need to make before I sell? What will Connecticut's real estate market be like in 6 months? It's time for The Real Estate Show with Pat Civitella. He's got your answers. Call 203-333-9422. Now, here's your host, Pat Civitella.
Hello to everyone, and good evening, and thanks for tuning in to The Real Estate Show with me, your host, Pat Civitella, with over 35 years' experience in real estate investing. And this show is about creating long-term wealth through real estate investing and producing passive and residual income with real estate. I'm going to share with you my knowledge and offer some guidance, inside information, and also talk about generating a primary or secondary income through real estate investing. Also, through the years, I have plenty of home improvement experience and tips on how to increase the value of your properties, and also some general home improvements that can also increase your bottom line. I encourage everyone to call in. The show, we're limited on the time, so if you have any questions, please call in. The number here is 203-333-9422. That's 203-333-9422. With any type of questions, whether it's investing, whether it's buying, selling real estate, home improvements, anything of that sort, you can call in and ask a question. Now we're going to go right into our sponsor for the show, and then we're going to get the show started. Our sponsor for the show is 1-800-MR-JUNKER, junk removal made easy. They will take the good, the bad, and the ugly away. No need to do anything except for point what you want gone. They will either do a one-item pickup or complete house or business clean-out. 1-800-MR-JUNKER is ready to serve you, serving Fairfield and New Haven counties for over 15 years. Please call our friends there and mention Pat Civitella on WICC, and you'll get 10% off your first job. Yes, 1-800-MR-JUNKER for all your junk and cleanup removal. They also have same-day service available. They're a hot tub removal specialist, and they also offer free junk car removal. That's right. Again, that's free junk car removal. Call 1-800-MR-JUNKER today, and you'll be happy that you did. Okay, thank you to our sponsor. Now we're going to go into the show. Again, if you have any questions, that's 203-333-9422, 203-333-WICC. Okay, so we're going to go into the show. I have a few topics I wanted to cover. One of my notes is about having a lease or no lease on property. Somebody had asked me that during this week, that question. Should I have a lease or just go month to month? And I just wanted to go into that a little more and tell what that means. Obviously, a lease is a lease of a document that's prepared either by your attorney, or you could get one off the internet nowadays, download it, and kind of customize it to yourself. But and then month to month, what that means is you rent the place out, and you just got an oral agreement, and you go month to month on the terms or the price of the rental. My thing is, I've always had a lease since day one, going back 35 years. And the reason I want the lease is because it protects both the tenant and the landlord. And the tenant side is, you have an agreement, let's say it's $1,000 a month for the rent. So now the tenant is aware that from January 1st till December 31st, he's going to be paying $1,000 a month, and there's no surprises. But, if you go month to month, now the tenant's kind of in limbo because, month 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, you could say, you know what, not changed my mind, but I'm going to increase your rent to $1,100 a month or $1,200 a month. So, that's not good on the tenant side. It might be a little better for the landlord, but, I always personally want the tenant to feel comfortable. I want them to feel good about the property and doing business with us. So I want them to stay. I always want tenants to stay. I always tell people 1 year to me is almost like a month. It goes by so quick, So I want people long-term. And when I mean long-term, I want, 5, 6, 10 years. We've had tenants with us we have probably about a half a dozen or more that have been with us probably 15 years. And, that's what I look for, because it's such not a pain or a hassle to turn over an apartment, but it is a procedure to go through. So yes, I do prefer a lease. It protects both the landlord and the tenant. And on the landlord side, you have it stated, you have it written exactly the do's and don'ts about what is allowed in the apartment. Like whether you're allowed to have pets, whether you're allowed to use the property in the back personally or have parties. It's whether you're allowed to have more than one person living there. The lease, the document states everything. I cover all that with our leases, that you have to be specific on the tenant's responsibility and what the landlord responsibilities are. So. To answer that question that I got asked this week by someone is, yes, I always have a lease with my properties, and I would recommend it to anybody getting involved in real estate investing.
Question, Pat.
Yes.
If you lease somebody or somebody gets a lease from you for more than 1 year, would you be able to give them like a deduction because they're kind of giving you more time? Say if you're leasing for $1,000 a month,
right,
and then you decide, well, I would like to do a 3-year lease, make it maybe $950 a month over 3 years, so it's more like guaranteed income for that time.
Yeah, I don't really discount it, Rich, but what I do tell a tenant, like if somebody's willing to sign a 3-year lease on a regular apartment, I will tell them like the first year it's going to be let's say one rate, then the next year maybe just go up minimal instead of going up what the average might be, like let's say $50 or $100. I might say, well, the second year is going to be $25, and then the third year will be another $25. So it has to work both ways, because it's got to be. You have to take in consideration the cost of living, which is 2 to 3% every year. Sometimes it's more. So I love to do a 3-year lease, anytime. And I tell my tenants, the first year is like a trial. Like we'll see how things work out. How things work out for you and how things work out for us. And then we can go from there. And I tell my new tenants too, like, I'm not the type of landlord that's going to go up every year, but it's going to be some type of increase within a reasonable amount of time, because every year our insurance goes up on the properties, water, sewer. We just can't absorb it all the time. So that would be my answer to that, Rich.
Yeah, because I had an apartment in Bridgeport, which for 3 years back in the late 70s, early 80s, and I had a 1 year, 3 1-year leases.
Right.
And they raised it a little bit each month. But back then, I think I was making $200 a week and a $240 a month apartment. For
right.
month. That was pretty inexpensive as opposed to who knows what it would be now.
Yeah.
So, and it did get, like, you're right, it gets more expensive and taxes and everything.
Yeah, unfortunately, as a landlord, as being in business, you just can't keep absorbing all those increases, and it's constantly, we just got reevaluation on some of our properties in the Derby, and the tax rate went up. I forgot what it went up, but it's like 8 or 10% increase across the board. So that's a big chunk. So let's say 8%. We have to do at least 4% increase come when the leases are coming due. So just keep in mind that folks out there, that this is a business. And just like any other business, you have to, it has to be profitable. It has to be worthwhile to continue to operate. So that was my take on the lease or going month to month. Although, I've done just recently, probably within the last 4 or 5 years, 3-4 years ago, I had a tenant. I went month to month. The reason I went month to month is because I was a little hesitant on whether he was going to perform or not. And what I mean by perform is pay the rent. Because he had some type of issues and stuff. So I says, you know what? I'll give you a break. I'll give you a chance, but we're going to go month to month, because if this doesn't work out after 2 or 3 months, you're gone. I'm not going to wait a whole year. And believe it or not, I think he was with me almost 2.5 years. So. I never went to a regular lease with him, but I just stayed month to month.
And that goes back to a topic you covered about 3 weeks ago, that what happens when people don't pay their rent. So if you're doing it month by month, you don't have to wait for a full year.
Right, I don't have to wait to the lease to expire to start the eviction process. So that's one benefit. But 99% of the time, there's always a lease involved. All right, so I want to cover a couple other things. Let's see. First of all, today I was out after I left the office around noontime. I stopped and I picked some dandelions. And people out there are going to say, well, there's going to be the Italians who understand what the dandelions are, La Cicoria. And I picked some nice fresh dandelions and brought them home, and I cleaned them all up. But then I was in a rush because my wife went to pick up my granddaughter, and she came home and she was hungry, so I had to make quick soup for her and stop what I was doing with the dandelions. But I got them all clean, so hopefully I'm going to eat them. We're going to have them tomorrow night, me and my wife.
The garden guy actually brings up that once in a while that dandelions are edible.
Oh yeah, we've been eating them since we were kids. I mean, ever since we came to this country, my mom and dad always picked the dandelions and always made a salad with it. And now lately they're saying that that's like the best health food around. So let's see what else we had covered. I did the dandelions today. Another thing I learned, my sister was over on the weekend. We had the whole family on Sunday, and we were talking about dandelions, and she brought something up that this is another vegetable or a root vegetable I've never heard of. Have you ever heard of ramps, Rich? Ramps, R-A-M-P-S, ramps.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
That's the first I've heard of it, and then I looked it up today on Google, and sure enough, it's like a leek that grows wild on in the grass, and it's supposedly supposed to be very good. My sister picked a whole bunch of them, made something with it, but it's the old saying: you learn something every day. All right, we're going to go to a caller on the phone. Who do we have, Rich?
Hi, Yvette.
Oh, hi, Yvette. How are you?
I'm good. I was calling about the leasing situations.
Yes.
Sounds like you would be a great landlord.
Thank you. I try to be. That's my number one goal.
Yeah, leases are great, like you said, it's a benefit for both. But I always question the whole. You know how when you move in, you get the fresh paint and this, that, and the other.
Yes.
And make it all look pretty before you move in. Now you're there 10 years later. Does it ever happen where you revisit that as far as freshening up again or anything like that? Like, what's your take on that?
My take on that, it all depends. Again, everything always depends on the performance of the tenant. And what I mean by the performance, obviously, number one is paying the rent on time, what type of tenant he or she is or they are. And yeah, we have tenants all the time, that have been with us many years and say, can you put some fresh paint, this, that, or, freshen the place up? And we come up with some type of agreement. Sometimes we'll either buy the paint and they do it, or they buy the paint and then we'll do it. But I want to have participation on both sides. I don't want it to be one-sided, just the landlord's responsibility.
Right, that is true. I just didn't know how that, if that was something that you would put in your lease, or is that like a law that, requires landlords to do that?
No, there definitely is not a law that requires to do that. That's just like negotiations, just like anything else. It's
a relationship.
A relationship that you have with the tenant, and I would say, we probably get that call maybe once or twice a year from our tenants saying, can we, or sometimes they just call us and say, can we paint the apartment? We get that quite often, more than asking to be painted.
Because after a while, it wouldn't need that. And then on the flip side of it, like when it's time to move out and you take, and not you, but deductions are taken, the first thing they want to say, well, we got to paint the place, we got to deduct, where if it was done all along, maybe that wouldn't have been an issue for anyone,
Yeah, absolutely. But there is a clause or a thing in real estate which is called normal wear and tear. So that's where that comes into play. Like, if you put in new carpet and the tenant's only there a year, and all of a sudden after a year that carpet looks like hell and it needs to be replaced, that's not normal wear and tear.
Exactly, that's different.
You're right. So it's the same thing with with painting. And same thing, we have tenants that call and say, they ask us, can we paint? And we say, yes, you can paint it, but make sure that apartment gets back to us when and if you move out, that we want that apartment back the way you received it, the way we gave it to you. Freshly painted, nice and clean, just as you received it. That's how I expect it back. And if it's not like that, then the deductions start happening.
Of course. Thank you so much. A lot of information, a lot of good information.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
For your time. God bless.
All right. Thank you. You too. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Yvette. Okay. So, let's see. Where was I? We were talking about ramps.
Why don't we take a break before you get going on here?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's do a quick break, and then we'll start the second half.
Got real estate questions? Call 203-333-9422 and ask Uncle Pat.
We're good, Rich? Okay, back to the show. All right. That was a good question from Yvette. Thank you for calling in. If anybody else has any questions, please call in to 203-333-9422. All right, so I was talking to Rich here about ramps, and I just learned that first time in my life I've heard that. But the reason I brought that up, it's like the old saying, you learn something every day, Rich. You're never too old to learn anything. All right, another thing. Let's see here. Yeah, Sunday we had the family over, and we were doing some cooking. I did a lot of cooking. Me and my wife did a lot of cooking. We always love to have the family over on Sundays, get everybody over. And this Sunday, I pulled out some of the homemade cheese and sausage I brought back from Italy, and that was a big hit. Everybody really enjoyed that. Going back to another topic I wanted to cover, I just came across this the other day. I was watching a podcast, a gentleman that I follow, and he's a big, I shouldn't say Bitcoin, but he does Bitcoin, gold, and silver. And he travels all over the world, and one of his shows is shows to like this has to do with alternative investing, besides real estate, which he's also a big real estate guy too. But he did a little show. He took a trip. Him and his nephew or somebody in the family. They went to Argentina, and they brought gold, silver coin, gold coin. And a couple of other things, and then they also brought Bitcoin, but I guess that's on your wallet, or I don't know how that Bitcoin works, anyways. So he went to the local places where he was visiting into this business district, and he went from shop to shop trying to see how much he could get for a silver coin here from the United States. Because I'm also a coin collector since I was a kid. I've been collecting coins and silver, and I'm also a stacker. I don't know if what people know what stacker is, but the coin community knows what that is. But anyways, this guy went to Argentina, and he went to all these different shops that they're called cambios down there. Cambios means exchanges, exchange money, dollars for their money and so forth and so on. So he went into these shops and went in with the silver American Eagle coins from the United States, minted here in the U.S., and he was able to get almost the same price that you would sell them here in the United States, which is, whatever the price of silver and gold is, or silver for that coin. And then he did the same thing with a gold coin, and he went into these shops, had no problem getting, I would say 90% of the value. And then he tried Bitcoin. So he went into, I don't know, he must have went into a dozen different places, and nobody even considered taking Bitcoin because they really didn't. I don't know if they understood it, didn't understand it, but they just weren't. It wasn't something that they were willing to trade on it, So I thought there was a good show, and I wanted to bring it up because with other investments and alternative investments, that produce passive income, like from real estate, and then you also have this money that you need to invest in other things. You know, people always talk about this Bitcoin, but you know, I don't know anything about it, and I just don't believe in it. But I do believe in gold and silver. You know, which is money from 5,000 years ago, from the day of Jesus. You know, before Jesus. So I just wanted to bring that up just as a topic. So going back to the show, remember, one thing that I always preach is always buy assets, not liabilities, and buy more assets to pay for your liabilities. And I've said this on all of my shows. I think that, single family homes are not assets. They are liabilities. And, sometimes I get pushback on that a lot of times when I'm talking to just people on a day-to-day basis. All right, so another story here. Today I went to see a property. Let's see, and I met this nice lady and her husband, and it took me a while to get there because we were playing phone tag and so forth, but I finally got there. Anyways, I got there and come to find out, and this property was pretty nice. It was like a little 4.5 acre Ponderosa, what I call it, out in the valley area, out in the farm area. So after talking to the lady for a few minutes, I handed her my business card, and she saw my name, and she says, "Wait a minute." She goes, "Civitella." She goes, "Are you the same Civitella that was in the printing business back in years ago?" I go, "Yeah, that was me." I says, "I started that business in 1986." She goes, "Oh my God, we were customers of yours, back." And I remember you had your kids in the back room and the playpen, and we used to come in. So the reason I brought that up is just like a small world, and it's like she goes, "Oh, you were always so good to us, and your wife was there all the time." And so the point of bringing that up is, number one, I was looking at this property, which is, like I said, it's like a little. I just call it the Ponderosa because all I think of is the show Ponderosa, with that big spread. But this is only like maybe about 4.5 acres. But it was just beautiful land. They had this nice home on it. Had like a 4-car garage, and then it had this huge old dairy barn on the property also. And it had all the old stuff in there of all the when they milked the cows and fed the cows there and everything. That barn was probably, I would say 40 by 70, and it was 2 stories, plus it had a lower level. And it was just really, really picturesque. It was a really, really nice piece of property. So I'm looking at that property, and we're just going to see what happens with it. I don't know if anything's going to come about, but I wanted to mention that. And the reason I wanted to mention that is life is short, and life goes around. Like they always say, things always come around. And like this lady I was doing business with 30 years ago, and she goes, it was nice to see you again. She was asking for my family, for my wife, and everybody. And I thought that was nice. And it goes back to saying, always treat people nice, be kind, and it always comes back to you. And it's like
what goes around comes around.
Absolutely, Rich.
And it kind of goes back to what you had said in an earlier show about dealing with going to visit properties instead of getting the realtor involved with that. So you check it out yourself.
Absolutely. I tell that to people every day. I says, before you even call me or call a realtor or anybody, did you take a ride by it? No, I haven't. Oh, what are you doing? That's part of your homework, part of your due diligence is you have to go take a look at the property. Because if you don't like the outside, you don't like where it is, you don't like the driveway might be too steep, the house is a little crooked or on an angle or something, what's the point of bringing a realtor out there and saying, and you drive all the way up there like this? This was, pretty far up there in the valley, almost up to the Southbury line, and I haven't been up that road in probably years. And I'm thinking, I'm driving. I'm thinking, my God, it seems like I'm driving forever, and I'm still in this town, So, it's beneficial to you because you're going to save a lot with your realtor as far as not dragging them all over the place. Do some legwork, and. People say, well, why do I got to make the trip twice? Well, that's part of your investing in the time and the place. So yes, always do your homework, do your due diligence. Okay, another quick topic, and let's see, we got about 3 minutes. That's all we got, Rich? Oh boy, 3 minutes. All right. Let's talk real quick about the housing shortage that came out on I think it was U.S. News and World Reports. Is where I got these notes from. There's right now there's a current inventory of 500,000 homes for sale at any given time, and the normal inventory is 1,500,000. So we're 1 million homes short of inventory. And they brought up a good point: is like prices really aren't going down, interest rates are not going down, and the homes are still selling, pretty quick. And one point that this guy made that I thought was very good is like the baby boomers, which I'm part of that baby boomer generation, is they're not normally the baby boomers at this time, they would be selling their home and downsizing. So, you would have all these homes coming up on the market. But the problem is they have such low mortgage interest rates, 2% and 3%, 4%. They're not going to sell it. They rather stay in the big house, keep that, and they're paying such a low mortgage rates instead of selling their home. Because now if they sell their home, they have to pay top dollar and pay a higher, 2 or 3 times their interest rates. So that made a lot of sense to me why things are still, still not enough inventory out there because, again, the baby boomers is probably one of the biggest generation out there. So I wanted to just bring that up, and I wanted to go over that real quick, and then I got to do, let's see here, real quick. Here we are. Okay. Just to give you my information, again, if you have any questions, because I can't get to everything on the show, but my office number is 203-736-2484. Again, that's 203-736-2484. Feel free to call anytime with any type of questions, and I'll be happy to help you if I can. And I hope that everyone's enjoying the show. And if you have any questions if anyone out there has any questions, if you want to sell any type of real estate, please feel free. I'll give you, there's a no obligation. I'll give you my price opinion on the property, what I think you could do to maximize the price. Again, there's no obligation. Just call me at my office at 203-736-2484. Again, it's 203-736-2484. And I just got to get my last closing statement here. I got too many notes here tonight. I brought too many cards here. All right, my closing notes. Remember, there's good debt and bad debt. Also, buy assets, not liabilities. One thing that I added new that I forgot about, and I'll go over it next week, is pay yourself first. Have you heard of that, Rich? Pay yourself first. Okay. All right, buonasera a tutti. Ciao, ci vediamo la prossima settimana. Sivo Dio. God bless America, and thank you for listening to the show. Your host, Pat Civitella.